Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, Maintain Traceability with Cim50 Manufacturing. My name is Martin Connor. I'm a manufacturing specialist here at Cim Software. Please feel free to make a note of my contact details and the cim50.co.uk website, where you'll be able to find additional brochures, feature guides, and case studies on our software solution. Okay, so this morning we will be looking at the primarily at the Cim50 traceability functionality, but just a little bit of an agenda. I'll take you through the modules and where the traceability fits in, take you through an overview of what the traceability is all about, and then we'll drop into a features demo for the traceability, and then talk about sort of next steps and if you've got any questions. Please feel free to drop anything on the chat if you're watching live. We will be sharing this for people that are not able to attend, and it will be available on our YouTube channel. Okay then, so the traceability for Cim50 sits within the stock control module. And the stock control module is one of 7 modules that we've got available for Cim50. And as you may or may not be aware, but Sage 50 Accounts doesn't have any provision for traceability. So the traceability element is one of the major features of the Cim50 stock control. And when we're talking about traceability, we're talking about batch and serial number traceability, and that's by item. Okay, so the traceability is just one of many additional features that Cim50 brings to the party, really, if you're using Sage 50 accounts. That's all fully integrated with the rest of the modules, primarily bills of materials if you're doing BOM builds, works orders if you're managing your production, so issuing stock, completing works orders, even allocating if you wanted to. Okay, and it also flows right the way through into our shop floor data capture module, which I like to refer to as barcode anything. Okay, there are webinars for some of these individual modules and overview of the whole solution, so please feel free to have a look on our YouTube channel or other webinars which are available there. So Cim50 traceability then, what are the features and the benefits? So we've got batch and serial numbers, as I said, that's by stock item. So you can switch it on and off by stock item. So if you've got particular items that you need to record batch numbers for or serial numbers for, then you can do that. And then other items, say, for instance, packaging materials that you're happy to maintain on a first in, first out basis, FIFO, then you don't mark them as traceable. Okay, and this was actually a key difference between Cim50 and the legacy Sage 50 manufacturing system, which it was all or nothing in the Sage 50 manufacturing, whereas we've been selective by item. We've also introduced serial numbers as well. Okay, and what that means is that we can track those movements right the way through the Cim50 solution. So you would move from doing any transactions within your Sage 50 accounts for traceable items into Cim50, and you can carry out all of those transactions within Cim50. Okay, we can store additional information against traceable items such as bin locations, so we allow multiple bin locations, record further details like sell by dates, use by dates, additional details, and any custom fields that you might want to add. And we can also attach documents, so it might be that you want to take a picture of the item as it's being received, or hold a certificate of conformity for that batch or serial number. That can be done. Okay, goods receipts, works order completion, or at any time if you wanted to go into the batch and add that in at a later stage. Say all fully integrated, all Sage 50 transaction types can be carried out within Cim50 for traceable items. So I've already mentioned goods receipts, dispatching, stock takes, quarantine and inspection as well. You name it, can all be done within Cim50 for your traceable items. We can also track production, allocate and issue components to works orders and BOM builds, and also generate batch and serial numbers. And these can be either manually entered or auto-generated by the system. That's by item, and we'll show you that as we go through this morning. And then finally, we've got a number of inquiries. So if we need to track where a particular piece of material has come from, maybe the purchase order, did it go for inspection? So we might want to see that. Did it get issued to a works order? Okay, and where did it get used? Were there any adjustments? Okay, and likewise, if we manufacture a sub-assembly, which is batch or serial numbered, we might want to see which finished works order it's been issued to. Okay, and then finally, which sales order a finished item has been dispatched against a batch and serial number level. So complete traceability end to end, really. So what I'm going to do is just get on with it and get into the demonstration of the software, okay, and the traceability elements. So take you through the sort of the various touch points. Some of them I will just sort of allude to and just make you aware that they exist, the sort of the time permitting here. But if there was something specific that you wanted to see at a later stage, then feel free to reach out. Okay, so I'm in Cim50. If you wanted a bit of an introduction to the rest of the user interface and modules, as I said, there are other webinars. So at this stage, I'm just going to get straight into the stock control and talk about the sort of the traceability elements. Okay, so without further ado, we can see on the list here, list view here, that we've got a mixture of non-traceable items and batch traceable items. And if I just sort this, we can see that I've also got some serialized items. Difference between a batch and a serial number is that we might have a batch of 100, which has just got one number. And if they were serialized, we would have a serial number for each of those 100 items. Okay. So we end up with more transactions, okay, more records within the database. That's the overhead of having that, but we can deal with that. So if I pick on a particular item, so I'm going to just find my timber oak, because this is what we're going to be sort of working through the system today. I can see that this particular item, if I go into amend and go to the traceability tab, okay, we can see that this item uses traceability and it has batch numbers. Okay, and because I've got stock of this item, okay, and we've got various things going on with this item, I can't change that at this stage. Okay. What I can change is whether the batch number is auto-generated or not. So do we want the system to generate a batch number? For example, in this case, GRN001, I'm going to use a sequential number. Do we want to have a prefix and a suffix, as you can see there? Do we want a default shelf life, okay, for the system to calculate a shelf life for us when we're booking this item into stock? And that's days, weeks, months, or years. Okay, quite useful if you're in sort of food industry, sort of chemicals, those sorts of things. They may have a particular shelf life when you're manufacturing the item. You also have the ability to enter those as you're booking it into stock. Okay, as a from a works order maybe, or from a purchase order. Sorry, if it's a use by date that your supplier provides you with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now receive some goods. So that timber oak, we can see that we had a purchase order. So we've got some of those coming into stock. Okay, so what I can do is I can receive 20 of those. I could push that into quarantine if I wanted to. So the traceability flows into quarantine, and I'll show you some of that. I've got some already sat in quarantine. So if I receive that item, I get my alert from the stock record, and then this screen pops up to say that this is a batch traceable item. So I don't, as a user, I don't need to remember that this item is traceable because we've already predefined that on the stock record. And it's this item is auto-generated. I could, if I want to, record a description. I could put a supplier's batch number in there. Okay, if we wanted it to hold their batch number. It may be that you have this not auto-generated and you use the supplier batch number as the batch number. That's entirely up to you, but we've given you that flexibility. A certificate number, these fields are not mandatory. Okay, it might be that we want to put this into a different bin location. Okay, it may be that we want to split this batch. Okay, because I've got two different supplier batch numbers. I might want to put it in two different bin locations, and I can do that. Okay, so what I can do is I can add a batch. It will give me a new GRN number. I could put some different information in here. I could have a different supplier batch number, different certificate number, and I may choose to put it into a different bin location. So I'm going to put this one into C6. Okay, so it's a self-learning field that just learns what's available to you. I can also get that to add multiple as a automate that. I can tell it how many I want. I can remove the batch because I might want to, I may have made a mistake. Okay, I can add additional information. So the sell by dates, use by dates. Okay, additional information, notes. Okay, I may also have some custom fields. So in here, it might be that I want to record the finish level and I've just set up a ABC as a drop down. Okay, that can all be recorded. I can also attach a document. So it might be that I want to attach a certificate of conformity or a picture, and that's exactly what I'm going to do now. So go off to my pictures here, and I'm going to pick up that picture there, and I now have a picture of the timber as it was received. Okay, and that will stay with that batch as it goes off into the Cim50 stock control, so we can get back to that and we can have a look at that at any time. Okay, we can also add further documents if we wanted to. So if I confirm that, so I've split that delivery of 20 into two batches, two different supplier batch numbers, two different bin locations. So if I confirm that and receive, I then get the option to print goods received note, okay, which details the two batches. These can be laid out how you want them to be laid out. Okay, where to store them. So we could put this on the pallet and then somebody could take them off into our warehouse and put them in the location that we've chosen. And then we've also got labels because I've told it to do so on the stock record. Okay, I've told it that I want a label. Okay, when I receive goods for this item, so it's got all of the information, relevant information. So it's a batch 10, 44. It's in location. It's got the barcode on there for our shop floor data capture module. Okay, so that holds all of the information. It's holding the batch number. So if I was to scan this with our shop floor data capture module, okay, the system would validate that that was the correct stock item from that batch number. So I've now got two labels, okay, for the two batches, okay, 44 and 45. So just close out of there, and that's now been received. We do have our amend receipt functionality. So if I did make a mistake, I could amend the receipt and it would maintain the traceability for me. So it would ask me which of the batches I want to reverse, and that would be recorded in the stock history. Okay, so that's the receiving of the goods, and we've now got that into the system. So if I was to go into a stock record and view the batches, okay, this would be the same for serial numbers. It would say serial numbers. You can see all of the batches that I've currently got in stock. See, I'm showing the ones that have just got stock. Okay, there may be others, and then you can see the details that I've entered, and it's into the bin location, supplier batch number. Okay, if I go in here, I can see that there's the goods in, who did it. Okay, again, because it's traceable, we can record such details, okay, as a transaction. So right away through the system, if I issued this out or adjusted it, it would record who had carried out that transaction. The additional information, okay, if I go to view details, okay, we can see the quantities in stock, what's in quarantine, okay, updated, when it was received, costings, okay, expected versus actual, the analysis codes, so the finish level, the notes, if we entered any notes at goods receipt, attachments, so I can get back to that. I can see there's the picture of the timber as it came in the door, and full list of history. Okay. What we can also do within here from an inquiry point of view, and I'll come back to this a bit later as well, but if we come in here and maybe a supplier has been on the phone and said, actually, we've got a problem with our batch number 3344, I can actually find that batch. It's our timber oak, it's our GRN0016. Okay, view the details, look at all of that information that we were viewing before. And if I go to the history, I can see that there was an adjustment out for this item a few days ago. So maybe we've already discovered that there's a problem with that item. Okay, had that been issued to a works order, we could see exactly which works orders it had been issued to, or sales order or whatever. We can also see that information with with an inquiry view, which we can decide which piece of information we're looking for. So if I was to enter that GRN 0016 in here, because that's the piece of information I've got, it might be that I've entered the sales order or the purchase order or the works order number. Okay, what it will do is it will give me a list, a sort of tree view of the transactions that came in from the purchase order. If there's an adjustment out, okay, and from within here we can collapse it, open it up, we can view the items, we can go off to and look into that further detail if we wanted to. Okay, so quite a graphical view of what's happened with that batch. Okay, adjustments, if I go into that item, we can create a new batch. We can adjust existing batches. So it might be that I need to make an adjustment. So rather than doing it for the stock item as a whole, which would be the case if it was non-traceable, if you carried out this transaction in Sage, okay, we can do this at batch level. Okay, one thing to note here is if you did do any stock transactions in Sage, okay, the batch details or serial number details are not going to be updated, okay, because Sage won't know anything about that, but the overnight maintenance check will pick up on that, and it will highlight that to you in the morning, okay, or you can run that at any time, of course. And what you will then need to do is look to use the tools to correct that, okay, which is basically you tell the system which batch was affected by that transaction. But we would recommend that you take away all stock transactional features from Sage 50 accounts if you're using Cim50 traceability. We've also got the ability to transfer from bin location to bin location. Okay, so maybe we've got this item here that isn't in a location, so I'm going to now decide that I'm going to put it in C6, and I'm going to put all 180 of those into C6. Okay, if I confirm that and go into that stock item and I look at the stock history, we can see that we've got our 2 receipts and we've got our transfer, and it's telling me the batch numbers there. Okay, this is an opening balance which was pulled across from Sage in the first instance, so it's not got a batch number. Okay, come back to those in a minute. Quarantine, I've got an item in quarantine and it's got a batch number, so if I was to inspect those, we would get a transaction for that batch moving out of quarantine. So we've got one that's going in, but we'd also get one with it coming out as good. Stock take, if I was to create a stock take for all our items, just save that. And if I print the count sheets, this will go right down to batch and serial number level. So you can see here we've got various serial numbers, and if I go to the last page, we can see that we've got our timber oak detailed. So these are all of the batches for timber oak. Okay, and we can count against those individual batches as required. Okay, and from there on, the stock take functions in exactly the same way. So I'm just going to cancel out of there, but we can do stock takes by batch and serial number. Okay, so that's some of the features in stock control. What I'm going to now do is move across to works orders, okay, and show you some of the functionality here. So I've got a works order on a couple of works orders on here. So we've got our top oak that goes into an oak desk, and if I was to issue the stock to that top oak, you'll see that we've got that timber oak that we've booked into stock, some edging and some adhesive. Okay, this will be exactly the same on allocation, so you can allocate batches as well as issue, but I'm just going to skip the allocation stage. You can also allocate, reverse issue, and traceability will be taken into account. So I'm just going to go issue as much as possible. And then what it's doing is it's prompting me, because it's recognized that this item is traceable, it's now prompting me for which batch or batches I want to use. Okay, so I've got here 190 to issue. Okay, so I might want to choose to use 180 of that first opening balance that I had, and maybe 10 of those that we've just bought into stock. Okay, so now have the full issue quantity. Okay, but if I wanted to, I could have just hit the auto FIFO, select FIFO, and it would have pre-filled it, but it would have taken probably those top 2 for me. But I've chosen to do something different. There is also a setting which you can bypass all of that so that it just issues on a first in, first out basis. Okay, and you're not prompted for the screen. Sort of a lower level of traceability, really, because you're not, if you use something different, a different batch or serial number, then what you probably need to do is come back to the works order, unissue and reissue the relevant part, maybe. But it's yeah, so this gives you a higher level of functionality and analysis and traceability, of course. And from here we can see the additional info. So go into see that information used by date, sell by dates, that finish level. Okay, if we needed to confirm that. This is the next item, the edging oak, and I'm just going to click on auto FIFO so you can see that it pre-filled for me. And it's now issued that works order. If I go into that works order and move to the components tab, we can actually see on the components tab, if I highlight timber oak, the batch numbers, so we can see the batch numbers which were issued or allocated. I didn't do the allocation, but it would be exactly the same. Okay, and if I want to view the detail, and drill down into that, and we see the same screen as we saw in stock control. So we don't need to go off to stock control and look at that detail, so we can get to the attachments, all of that. We can see it from the works order. Okay, so what I'm going to now do is I'm going to complete that works order. Okay, for the 95, I've issued enough material for the 95, it's fully issued. Yes, I do want to complete it. It's just asking me about operation time, so I'm just going to use the standard. And this is now recognized that this item is traceable, and it's auto-generated, and it's asking for certain information. So if I maybe have a certificate, or I want to put it into a different location, I want to add further info, attach a file, I can. Okay, split that batch if I want to into multiple, I can. Okay. And because I've told it to do so, I get a completion label. That works order now complete. So if I now move up to the top level item, so we've completed our sub-assembly, I can carry out the same functionality. So if I go to issue the stock, we can see that there's our top oak. Okay, I'm going to issue as much as possible again. So I'm going to work through these one by one. Just going to select auto on some of these studs. And there we get to the top oak, and it's then prompting me for the batch. So it might be that I'm going to take 5 from the opening balance and 95 from there. Okay, so I've not carried out that transaction on a first in, first out basis. Confirm, that's now fully issued. And again, go into the components and go to my top oak. We can see the batches which have been issued, and this would be true of serial numbers as well, which should just end up with more records in there. And then finally, if I was to complete that works order, okay, for the 100, just keep it nice and simple. I could book it into quarantine if I wanted to. This one is coming up and asking me to enter the batch number, so I'm going to put in here just a random number. Okay, I can fill in the additional information again if I wanted to. Okay, add the files, add the further information. It's all available to me. Confirm. I get the label again that can be used for our shop floor data capture. The detail on there, which can be laid out how you want. Okay, we now have a finished item into stock. So if I now move back to stock control and I dispatch that item, so I'm going to create a new delivery note for the oak desk. I'm going to just pick sales order number 6. It's 37 ordered, 37 outstanding, and I'm going to enter 37 in there. Again, I can hit buttons if I want to automate that. And then what it's doing is it's come up and asked me which batches, which batches I want to dispatch against that sales order. Again, this can be defaulted or automated. You can hit the button, but I'm gonna enter the quantity. Okay, so it might be that I want to take maybe 30 from one of the batches and 7 from the other. Okay, so if I confirm that and dispatch, that's now created a delivery note. And as you may or may not be aware, but we've not created an invoice at this stage, so it allows us to amend that delivery. So I could change the quantity, I can add items to it for the same supplier, same customer, sorry. Okay, same delivery address, or I could amend the batches. So if I wanted to, I could actually say, no, I want to change that around. Okay, complete flexibility, and all of the traceability will be maintained. Okay, so let's maybe go and do that. So I'm going to say that actually I've changed my mind. We're going to take all 37 from here, confirm and save. That's now been dispatched. I can print a picking list. Okay, so it's telling me where to pick it from in the batch. Okay, taking into account those amendments. if I know that the items have gone, I can then produce my delivery note with the additional packing information, etc., if we wanted to include that. And our delivery note can also include the batch details. Okay, 37. And at that point, I could update it to invoice, but I'm just going to go off and show you. If we go into the Oak desk and we look at the history, we can see there's our goods out. There's the amendment, okay, of it going back in, okay, and the goods out again against my batch that I've created, okay. So it's maintained full traceability. And if I go back to my batches, if I go to my batches, we can see there's my material in from works order number 17. Okay, and there's my 2 dispatches because we did it in 2 steps. Okay. And we also that also follows through into our inquiries. So there's my batch. Okay, so it's just found the oak because it's doing like a almost a wild card there, and we can view that information. Okay, so that concludes the webinar of Cim50 manufacturing traceability. I hope you found that useful. And what I will do now is have a look to see if there's any questions on the chat. But in the meantime, please feel free to reach out if you want any assistance with utilizing the Cim50 manufacturing traceability features, or email info@cim-software.co.uk with any queries. Thank you very much.